Yo, what's up everybody? It's Manga Mike here, and in today's video we're going to be going back through some of my drawings. Even though I didn't record them real time, just because I figured that that was kind of getting boring to like look at, I went ahead and I still maintained my challenge. I think I did 21 straight days with one day in between. So it was like, I think it was like 17 days, and then I took a day off because I had some other stuff I had to do, and I was just too busy, and then I did, the rest of it. But I wanted to kind of show you the progression and kind of tell you what I learned throughout this process. So this is the last page I think that y'all saw me do in the last video. So I did this page afterwards because it's just easier for me to draw on this side than this side for the videos. So you can see here, like, it's pretty much at the same level. I'm still like making some improvements here and there, using maybe a little bit less lines at times. But yeah, so that's day 7. This is day 7 over here as well. Still doing a lot of studies, trying to work on like the perspective and things like that. I would say that there wasn't anything that was like clicking super well for me yet. I'll kind of show you where it really started to click, I feel. So day 8, again, like very similar studies. Still making sure I'm working on my contour lines, which I'm actually going to put out a video of contour lines here pretty soon. Getting a little bit better with my lines overall. Day 8 is where I kind of started to feel pretty comfortable with the whole process. I was getting a little faster. I can look at this now, which is good news. I can look at this and see why it's wrong, which is like really good, actually. But yeah, so like just these studies, I'm still learning how to really simplify the figure in a way that works best for me, and that's what's really important. More day 8 stuff. I did a lot on day 8, and I did this page besides this one right here was me working without references, which I was fairly happy with. This one's kind of weird. This one's okay. That one's okay. And I like this one, actually. And my sitting poses weren't too bad either. So this is where I think I start to make like a huge improvement, and I'll tell you why. So I went back through, and if you ever want to look at a course that's really good for just like being able to draw from imagination, Scott Harris has a good course on Udemy on that, actually. My main gripe with that course is I don't think that he does necessarily like a great job of kind of teaching you anatomy. It's more like, here's how you can study anatomy, which is fine. Like that's a good approach too. But I already have like a decent foundation with anatomy. So I took this course like a year ago, almost to the date, and I did most of it all the way through, and I decided, why don't I go back into it and see what I learn, and see what I couldn't pick up before. And I'm really, really glad that I did that. I started to use, he has these theories that he like kind of puts in place, and I kind of started to use some of those theories within my within these drawings, with the hopes that eventually I'll be able to learn from imagination and be able to just do stuff with my imagination. Now, this page is probably looking horrible to you guys, but this is actually huge improvement. So prior to this, I was doing these studies, and I was taking as long as I wanted to get it down, right? So sometimes each pose was taking me 5-10 minutes. Then I went to this. This is all done within a minute and a half. And this is where I think I learned a lot. I started to really grasp it. I wouldn't say that I'm great at this point. I still have a lot to keep doing, which is why I'm still doing this kind of like challenge. I'm not doing it every day, but I'm doing it multiple times a week still. But yeah, this is in a minute and a half. And these are fairly like fluid looking and volumetric pieces. And I wouldn't say like this is the first day that I did it this way. I wouldn't say that this was clicking for me quite yet. These are still really rough looking. This is day 11 right here. The slight improvement from the day prior, but not too much. And I'm still doing a minute and a half. So still day 11. This one I liked a lot actually. This one's okay. I liked this one too a little bit. And then like the spots where you see me drawing like faces and stuff, I just did that because I wanted to at least try to fill the page a little bit more than I did. So look at day 12. So this is a huge jump even from day 10, right? Like I wasn't really finishing arms and stuff like that. Sometimes I wouldn't even start them. I wanted to focus mostly on legs because this is where my gap in anatomical knowledge is right now. So looking here, again, like this is a pretty significant jump in a 2-day period. And still like a minute and a half, right? Some of them I still wasn't finishing the arms, but I was really happy with the progress that was being made. So day 12 ended right here and then picks up at day 13. And again, just still working on these poses and working on getting as much information down on the paper as I could in a minute and a half. Yep. So this is another shift. So I decided to move on. I have like 2 folders of like poses that I have, and I used, if you go on Cube Brush, I can't remember the creator's name, so I can't give him proper props for this, but Cube Brush has a gesture drawing like app almost that you can install on your computer, and you fill it with any images that you want, and you use those images in order to, you know, do your gesture drawing. So I went and found some like comic book drawings and manga drawings and stuff like that, and even like real life drawings that I really liked, and I put those in a folder and I started doing those. So there might be like a little bit of a seemingly like a back step in my progress, but that's because I'm doing different poses. But yeah, still working towards, I kind of like this one. This one came out okay. But still working towards having a better understanding of how to simplify the human body, working on like things like foreshortening and stuff like that, because those are some of the poses that I did, or I put into the folder that I had. So yeah, this is the end of day 14 here, and even from 14 to 15, I feel like there's a pretty significant increase in my overall body of work for this day. Like for instance, this pose right here is the same as this one right here. And while this looks pretty sloppy, I'm working to like on drawing faster at this point, because you can't have really good fluid looking drawings if you're super stiff. And I think that's what my problem was earlier on when I first started this like little challenge I had for myself, because I was so focused on trying to get everything perfect on my first try that things were coming out a little stiffer than I wanted them to. So like these poses are, at the very least, even if they're not super accurate, they're pretty dynamic looking. So I'm really happy with that. So this is the end of 15. I didn't have as much time for this day. So now we go on to 16, and again, like you see this pretty like significant increase. And I think on day 16, I went from a minute and a half to 2 minutes, because I was like, okay, well, I'm starting to draw a little faster, and that's what like I really wanted to do. So now it's time to slow it down just a little bit so I can get more information and more time into each one of these studies. And you can see like this one it's not perfect by any means, but there's a lot of foreshortening and dynamism in here. This was, this is just a very simple body, like waist up pose, but I wanted to add that just to practice those. you know, these poses are coming out, at least in my opinion, much better than anything I've really done before, and I was really happy with that. So I'm going on to day 17. Again, working on same thing, 2 minutes. Doing, I don't know exactly how many drawings I'm doing in the 2 minute span, maybe 10, depends on the day. So yeah, this is my day 17 work right here. This is it too. I think I put the date because this is when I missed a day, or I missed the day prior. So going back again, so if you look at this, I'm working more so on making sure it's super dynamic. So let's look back at where the other one was. Nope, too far. Sorry, I should have had this like bookmarked. Here it goes. So this to this, and the big difference here is that it's very similar, but this is cleaner, less lines, more intention with my lines. So I'm pretty happy with that little bit of progress, and that's just 3 days. So yeah, and then you know, just keeping on with the same kind of stuff. And you can see, like, I'm doing the same kinds of poses, but I'm doing that on purpose. It's because I want to be able to do what I'm doing now and look back and see the improvements. And also, I'm really trying hard to have a better idea of specific poses and how to maybe recreate them from imagination. So this is day 19. I put longer, but I still did 2 minutes. I didn't like go up to 2.5 or anything like that. But yeah, so like this one, for instance, while she's a little off balance, just a little bit, there's a nice like fluid movement to this particular pose. This one's a little stiff, but yeah, like, I don't know, like I'm very happy with the way that this helped me out. I thought that this pose came out pretty good. This one's getting better as I go, because this one was particularly hard for me for whatever reason. Yeah, and you can see, like, I'm gradually getting cleaner lines. It's taking me a little less time to get this stuff done. So this is day 20. This is also day 20 over here. This pose in particular is hard because it's super foreshortened. And then I finished day 20 right here. For this one, it's literally, I just wanted to focus on the foreshortening of the arm, which I thought I did a pretty decent job of. And then finally, day 21, you can see I have a little balloon, because that was my initial goal, was just to get it done for 21 days. And I accomplished that goal. I did, 21 days pretty much straight, with only one day where I missed because of work, my actual job. But yeah, like, at this point, I'm really getting happy with the way that my drawings are coming out. They're much more fluid, usually less lines being done in order to portray the same thing. I'm noticing, like, things like when my characters are leaning forward, like this one is. It's just, and I'm really starting to understand these shapes a little bit better. But yeah, and then after day 22, I decided on day 23 I was going to start trying to do more so stuff from my imagination. And this is its own practice within itself, right? Is you have to also do something like I just did, just for your imaginative drawings. And this is kind of like, I liked this one. This came out pretty good, and this one's not horrible. But yeah, I've been pretty happy even with my imaginative work. Like, I think this is from imagination. This is using light reference. I don't know if this one's from imagination or not. I can't remember. This was mostly imagination. I used a little bit of reference from legs. This was mostly from imagination too. I used reference from legs, for legs as well. imagination here. This one's also imagination. This one too. And then back to like a study, 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 and that's it. So what did I learn? I learned that a lot of progress can be made within a few weeks. I also learned that, you know, I can draw really fast actually if I like stop worrying so much. I think that's something too that I would put out there for everybody else as well, is that don't worry so much about what the outcome is. Worry more so about you know, just getting something on the paper for now. And that's why I really liked the gestures. I liked timing myself as I did it, even though it was really difficult. Like, for instance, here, let's look at this, for instance, done in 2 minutes, and compare it to my day 1 stuff that I took as much time as I wanted to. And yeah, like this is still, like, I would say pretty decent compared to this, which is also I would argue is pretty decent. But the issue is that this took me 10 minutes. This took me 2, right? So I did it in like a fifth of the time, and it's a very similar result. Like, this isn't finished by any means. This I would still have to work a lot on just to make sure that I can get the muscles and stuff like that on there. The same with this, right? Like, I would still have a lot of work that I need to do in order to get this exactly where I want it to. Whereas this is the same thing, but it took me literally 2 minutes, and now I can start to add stuff that I want to add, right? And that's really important, especially for comics. Comics are, you know, it's about the knowledge that you have, but it's also about the speed, the overall speed that you have as you are, as you're working, because, you know, you have to push out 30 pages in a month is what professionals do, right? 30 pages in a month is what professionals do. Within those pages, you're drawing, you know, 5 to 10 different bodies in different positions with foreshortening and composition and stuff like that. Could you imagine if it takes you 10 minutes to do something like this, only to have to work on it for another probably 30 to 40 minutes in order to finalize it? Whereas if you take 2 minutes and now you're working 20 minutes to finalize it, you're able to finish a page in half the time. So yeah, that's kind of like the big lesson that I learned doing all of this as I've gone. Yeah, that's really about it. I hope that you enjoyed this like little bit of a sketchbook tour. I'm gonna continue doing this. I'm almost actually done with this sketchbook. I have probably like 30 pages left, and I'll continue to like work on my gesture drawings and stuff like that, and hopefully finish up everything before too long. Yep. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video, and I appreciate you following me along on this journey to become a pro. Alright, I'm Manga Mike, and I'm out.